Welcome everyone. We're so glad you're joining us tonight for our first ever virtual library program night. I'm Jane Lang, the director of the Neenah Historical Society. COVID-19 has certainly caused some issues for us in 2020. But we're not going to let that stop us from providing our community with interesting and fun historical programming. Before we go further though, I'd just like to say that we're being very cautious tonight relative to the COVID-19 pandemic. And there are only a couple of us at the library tonight to do this presentation. Anyone who is not presenting is wearing a mask and maintaining proper social distance to prevent the spread of the virus. We, however, think it is easier for the community to understand the presenter when they're not wearing a mask. So we're taking every precaution to do that safely tonight. Thank you for your understanding and patience as we all seek to do our best to keep the community safe and healthy. Well, the summer has blown by, and we were so happy to have been able to hold our summer history camp through the Neenah Parks and Rec Department, and also our annual cemetery walk, almost like normal. We had great stories to tell at the walk, stories from the island, and a wonderful night to visit our historic Oak Hill Cemetery. You can watch that program on our Neenah Historical Society YouTube channel, thanks to the work of Nick Jevney, who is the president of the Menasha Historical Society. Thank you so much, Nick, for all you do to preserve our shared local history. We're very grateful for our partnership with the Menasha Historical Society on many programs and events. And although we had to cancel our Neenah Menasha Intertribal Powwow for this fall, we're happy to say that we're collaborating with them on an event which will be held at Smith Park on September 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. It will be called History and Mystery at Smith Park, and it's an opportunity for you to come out and learn some of the very interesting stories of that park and the surrounding area on Doty Island. You can visit our website or Facebook page or the Menasha Historical Societies for more information. That's where you'll also find information on our upcoming programs, which will include Dr. Imran Andrabi, CEO of Theta Care, speaking on that organization's history and future in the community. That will be held on October 15th. And then Jim Gould, author of 11 Miles to Oshkosh, will join us on November 19th to speak about the local history behind his popular book. We're sorry that we can't be meeting with you in person just yet, but rest assured we'll be continuing to provide interesting programs for you until we can gather again in person here at the library. We'll continue to stream on Facebook and also videotape our programs so that you can watch them at your convenience whenever you like. So, one of the fun ways that we've partnered with the Menasha Historical Society this past year is on our program series, The Hidden History of Doty Island, and that's what we'll be offering tonight. The fact that two cities share a small island is pretty amazing in itself, and we're excited to present another story about the people and places of the island that over time have become hidden or forgotten. Tonight's program will feature the first indoor tennis court in the state, which was located right on our own Doty Island in what became known as the Barn. We've been very grateful for the help of local researchers as we've created this series, and tonight is no exception. Tom VanLieshout helped to create a previous program on tennis history for us, and tonight he's focused in on the Barn and its interesting story. So I guess I could say one good thing, and I'm sure there are more, that came out of the COVID-19 lockdown is that Tom had a bit of time on his hands, and as a result, he dug into the research and the story behind this interesting and hidden feature of Doty Island. With that said, I'm going to get things going tonight by just doing a short recap of what we've covered so far in the series. Again, these programs are available on our YouTube channel for you to watch at your convenience. The Hidden History of Doty Island. We focused on little-known stories of interesting places on Neenah and Menasha's Doty Island. Whoops. This is an aerial photo of Doty Island in 1938. One of the interesting things that you can see on this map is the outline of the driving park, which was one of the features that we talked about in a previous program. This slide shows various topics and locations we've already covered, with the barn location identified on this.
Check.
No, not yet. Okay, it's not identified yet. So previous topics that we have talked about include Whiting Boathouse, Roberts Resort, Picnic Island, and the Memorial Building at Smith Park. Also Winnebago Day School, the Winnebago Players, the Driving Park, and the Doty Tennis Club. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom VanLieshout for tonight's Hidden History topic.
Thank you, Jane. I'd also like to welcome you to this video presentation. It's been a pleasure presenting the series, The Hidden History of Doty Island. Tonight, the main focus will be our indoor tennis facility located on the Neenah side of the island, the very first indoor tennis court in the state of Wisconsin. I'll present this portion in 3 different sections. What is the barn? The Smith brothers get it started, and the Racket Club. But before I begin with the details, let me introduce myself and explain how I fit into the island story and the Racket Club story. I'm Tom VanLieshout, born at Theta Clark, lived on Hewitt Street in Neenah and Nicola Boulevard in Menasha. Graduated from St. Patrick's Grade School. All in all, I lived my first 25 years on the island. Concerning the Racket Club, my parents became club members in 1965, and I played on the court as a youth. I've been a member ever since. As an adult, my family utilized the facility, and I was a board member, president for 2 terms. In this first section, we'll discuss the basics, the who, the what, the where of the facility. You'll find a mixture of beginners, experienced and social tennis players, along with many business leaders utilizing the tennis court. First and foremost, the Racket Club was the first indoor tennis court in the state of Wisconsin and was the second indoor court in the Midwest. Indianapolis had the other. It remained the only indoor tennis court in the valley until 1968, when another court was built on Casaloma Avenue, or Casaloma Drive in Appleton. The large olive-colored building contains a full-size regulation doubles tennis court with a regulation backcourt space. The Racket Club, still in operation today, is a private tennis club with 35 family members. There is a board of directors, but no operational staff. Members sign in online to reserve court time, and they have a special key for personal access to the facility. New members are established from a pool of associate members. Bylaws of the organization hold to a maximum of 35 regular members. When a current member resigns, there's a waiting list from the associate member ranks to fill that open position. The ceiling is free of roof beams, has a clearance of 29 feet, and arches upward from the cement buttresses. The court was a single-pour concrete slab with ceiling and walls lined with fir wood, which is the best wood for pest control and rotting resistance. The facility has no running water, no air conditioning, and was originally designed with indirect lighting. The Racket Club is not insulated. It's always interesting getting ready to play tennis when it's 10 degrees below zero, sometimes having to go an hour early to turn the heat on to get the court warm. The Racket Club is located on 333 7th Street, near the corner of 7th and Hewitt in Neenah. It was built in 1927 on the Charles Smith property of 824 East Forest Avenue. East Forest Avenue. If you look, you can see Nicola Boulevard, Hewitt Street, and East Forest, and then 7th Street. It is the brown or the dark building right here. Some of the nicknames over the decades have been the Quonset Hut and the Barn. The one that has stuck through the years, and it's now affectionately known as the Barn. And I will refer to it as the Barn and the Racket Club throughout the rest of the presentation. The history of the Barn is very impressive when you think of the prominent local families that have been members and successful local tennis talent that walked through its doors. On the top left is a list of the original 20 club members in 1955. Over the years, many of the families were local industry leaders and tennis enthusiasts alike. Names like the Smiths, Strange, Bonta, Bergstrom, Baird, Jerzel, Kimberly, to name a few. By the 1960s, the bylaws were revised to expand membership. As membership grew, so did the talent of local tennis players. Lower left is a few of the additional 1963 members. Listed on the right are just a few of the local Wisconsin state champions that were members or trained at the Barn. As you can see, the Neenah and Menasha area has been blessed with talented tennis players through the years. The Barn will play a role in their development. Two neighborhood families took advantage of their proximity to the Barn. Across the street from the Racket Club, only 100 feet from the property, two neighbors became members of the Racket Club and started a Doty Island tennis story that spanned 3 generations and continues today. The Warren and Naomi Woodlinger family lived at 810 Hewitt Street. Warren was a gifted basketball great at Ohio State, playing professional in the 1930s. He became a nationally respected tennis coach. Mary Jane and Joe VanLieshout family lived at 806 Hewitt Street. Mary Jane was an outstanding junior tennis player. In 1944 and 45, she was Wisconsin state champion and ranked 7th in the western region of the U.S. Both of these individuals, Warren and Mary Jane, were inducted into the Fox Valley Tennis Hall of Fame. Both of these individuals also were board members of the Barn, Mary Jane as scheduler, Warren as maintenance and vice president. The Woodlinger family took their tennis skills to the next level. Excelling on the national and world stage, they received the USTA National Tennis Family of the Year Award in 1987. The upper right photo is Bill VanLieshout, son of Mary Jane, and John Woodlinger, son of Warren. Here they are playing each other, representing their respective high schools at the number 1 position. Bill at Menasha and John playing for Neenah. Both of these men will follow their parents and be inducted into the Fox Valley Tennis Hall of Fame. The Barn has played a significant role in the development of both families' tennis skills through 3 generations. The Barn is also a place where friends can meet and play tennis. Many family and friends have reserved permanent court time over the years. In 2011, the Appleton Post-Crescent did an article on the Barn. The photo on the lower left showcased a group of ladies who have been playing together, usually on Tuesday mornings, since 1965. One of the individuals on the right is Jane Shepard, daughter-in-law of Sylvia Smith Shepard, daughter of Charles Smith, the original owner of the property. Another group, member of the Neenah Boys' 1946 state-winning high school tennis team, continued their friendship playing tennis at the Barn on Saturdays up until 2014. Don Vogt, Paul Gross, Don Turner, Lynn Cooper grew up together and remained friends. That's 50 years of post-high school friendship on these tennis courts. As I said, the facility is a private tennis club right now. This is a list of the current 2020 Board of Directors. Bylaws are established to determine the responsibility and length of terms. The bylaws also establish total membership and rules for court operations. Currently, there are 35 family regular members and 40 associate members. In this section, I'll discuss how this unique tennis facility was conceived and became a reality. We'll focus on the early beginnings of organized tennis in Neenah and Menasha, the Smith brothers, Carlton and Maury. We'll have an update on the Doty Tennis Club as we receive new information on this club after our February program. And lastly, we'll discuss how the Smith family will share their facility with the community. Let me go back to the beginning of organized tennis in the Valley. At the turn of the century, tennis was a sport being played on public and private outdoor courts. Clubs were being formed by many of the surrounding areas. In 1923, a call for area players went out from a Kimberly-Clark executive, Frank Chappell. He wanted to organize into a men's tennis league. Others involved in this effort were Eaton Sizer, Kimberly Stewart, and Maury and Carlton Smith. They formed an organization called the Neenah Tennis Club, and the first organizational meeting was held in the basement of the old Neenah Theater. Within 2 years, Menasha players were invited, and the organization will be renamed the Doty Tennis Club. Over the next 3 years, as tennis in Neenah and Menasha grew, several players became standout athletes. The Smith brothers, Maury and Carlton, were both winning singles and doubles tournaments around in the surrounding area. By the mid-20s, a big push was on to develop a tennis court for the club. These brothers will play a big role in the development of organized tennis and tennis facilities in the area. Before we go any further, though, let me introduce the Smith brothers to you. To get a full picture, let me explain a little bit of the family tree for context. It all starts with their grandfather, Elijah D. Smith, in 1850. Elijah married Julia Maury in Rhode Island, and they moved to Menasha the day after the wedding. Elisha and Julia had 5 children. In 1852, Smith bought a struggling wooden pail factory that opened in Menasha and named it the Menasha Woodenware Company. This became the organization we currently know as Menasha Corporation. Elisha's oldest son, Charles, owned a broom handle factory. In 1894, it was acquired by the Menasha Woodenware. Charles became the chief executive officer and Elijah the president. Charles Smith will become president in 1899 upon his father's death. Charles Smith and wife Jeannie had 3 children, Maury, Carlton, and Sylvia. Their home, now on the Wisconsin Registry of Historical Places, is located on 824 East Forest Avenue. The tennis-playing brothers, Maury and Carlton, also shared responsibilities in their grandfather and father's business. Maury Smith attended Princeton and joined the company upon graduation. He became the president of Menasha Woodenware Corporation in 1935. He was also deeply involved in the Boy Scouts, serving as Valley Council. Carlton, the younger son, becomes president of Menasha Woodenware Company in 1935. Remember, in the mid-20s, the club was beginning to produce successful players and were playing on public courts. 2 hard courts at Green Park in Neenah and 3 at Smith Park in Menasha, but they did not have a place to call their home. Thankfully, in the summer of 1926, Maury and Carlton Smith donated a plot of land situated between Park Street and Winnebago Avenue on the Menasha side of Doty Island. This donated land would become a 4-court outdoor tennis complex. Last February, we made a detailed presentation on this club, and this is where it fits in to the Doty Island story. Bobby Riggs loved coming to play at the Doty Tennis Club. He did win our tournament 3 out of 4 years, 1937, 1938, and in 1940. In the summer of 1939, Riggs didn't come here as he was playing overseas in England. That year, 1939, he won all 3 events at Wimbledon: men's singles, men's doubles, and mixed doubles. But then he went on to New York to win the US Open. In his 1949 book, Tennis is My Racket, Bobby Riggs refers to the Neenah and Menasha area as the hotbed of tennis enthusiasm. Over the tennis court's 30-year history, this Doty Tennis Club would host annual local, state, and national tournaments. Over 80 of the world's top tennis players came to play here, not only Bobby Riggs, but also Pancho Segura, Pancho Gonzalez, and Don Budge. After last February's presentation on the Doty Island Club, we were provided several unexpected artifacts from the 1940s. Let me share with you a couple of those artifacts that we received. During the presentation, we discussed how World War II affected the Wisconsin State Tennis Tournament, national programs, and many of our local organizations. We knew that Doty Tennis Club almost had to close as the war call-ups took many players and club members overseas. Until we came across the honor roll of the members in service, we did not know how significant it was. In 1945, there were 60 members serving our country. Second, we were able to secure the actual final draw from the 1944 Western Adult Tournament. We have the men's and women's singles and doubles, along with the mixed doubles draws, including winners and scores. An interesting fact on the men's singles is the men's finals between Pancho Segura and Bill Talbert. In 1944, these two men were fighting to be the #1 players in the U.S. This is what was noted in Wikipedia under Pancho Segura's 1944 tournament wins. Pancho won the Western States Tournament in July over Talbot in 5 grueling sets in which both players suffered leg injuries and had to take timeouts for treatments. The most interesting find of our presentation was this photo. When we presented it on a slide, we did not know the identity of the player providing the autographs. During the presentation, Betty Hill thought it might be Gloria Thompson and made a comment that Gloria was always following Pancho around. A little research after the presentation found a very interesting fact. Yes, it was Gloria Thompson, but just who is Gloria? It turns out that Gloria Thompson is Jimmy Connor's mother. The lower left photo is Gloria and her sons, Jimmy and Johnny, in the early 1960s. This is what Wikipedia says under Jimmy Connors. Jimmy Connors grew up in East St. Louis across from the Mississippi River, St. Louis. During his childhood, he was coached by his mother and grandmother. Gloria was a strong influence in Jimmy's life. Here's another fact that was interesting that I found in Wikipedia. Connor's mother, Gloria, took him to Southern California to be coached by Pancho Segura, starting at age 16 in 1968. This was Mr. Connor's first professional coach. Imagine a young Gloria and a young Pancho playing tennis at our little Doty Tennis Club. To think all of this comes out of the generous gift from the Smith brothers to the organization that they helped develop. For more information on the Doty Tennis Club tournament held there, please see our YouTube video or go to the Neenah or Menasha Historical Society's Facebook page. Now, I took you too far into the future, so let me pull you back to the 1920s. Remember, in 1926, the Smith brothers just provided the land for the outdoor courts. That was just the start. Carlton and Morey knew that in order to build tennis skills, you needed more court time. They knew that the area needed something else. They needed the ability to play year-round. They were thinking big and unique. In 1927, a few years after their father Charles passed away, the Smith brothers developed designs to build the first indoor tennis facility in Wisconsin. Their sister Sylvia now was the owner of the family property. The three siblings worked together on the idea and agreed to build the indoor tennis facility in the backyard of the family property, northeast of the house. This is what one article of the Post-Crescent mentioned concerning a tennis court.
Tennis is to be played indoors this winter if plans of Maury and Carlton Smith are carried out. The Smith brothers are arranging to erect a building on the lot on Hewitt Street, directly in the rear of the C.R. Smith property, to house a regulation tennis court. The building will be heated and lighted so that the games can be played in the evening. This will be the first indoor court in the state.
To celebrate the opening of the tennis court, the Smiths will host a tournament in conjunction with the state's annual meeting of the Wisconsin Tennis Association. These two events not only showcased the unique indoor facility, it also promoted Neenah and Menasha tennis to the larger Madison, Milwaukee area players. Here's what was said of that event.
A tennis tournament here in January may sound incongruous to some folks, but that's what's going to take place here tomorrow in the enclosed tennis courts recently completed by Maury and Carlton Smith. The court is the second of its kind to be constructed in the Middle West. The tournament, which will be carried on informally, is to be held in conjunction with the annual meeting of the Wisconsin Tennis Association at the Valley Inn, starting at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Among those who will compete are some of the best in Wisconsin tennis circles, including Harold Amos, state closed champion, Louis Reichel, runner-up, Henry Godfredson, Bob McMillan, Billy Schomer, and Carlton and Maury Smith.
Throughout the 30s and 40s, the indoor facility would see many formal and informal tennis play. Many Smith family parties and social gatherings were to share the use of these courts. Earlier, I mentioned that Maury Smith was very involved in the Boy Scouts. They opened their facility to the Boy Scouts for meetings, activities, and social events. They also were very involved in the local youth organizations. The Blue Kids Club, which was an athletic club formed by Blue Jays and Rockets, would use the facility. Several sports were organized by the Blue Kids, including tennis and archery. The archery group would hold their practices and tournaments in the barn. The Smith family not only built this unique facility for family and social get-togethers, but also shared it with the community. In our final section, we'll discuss the development and execution of a plan to buy the indoor facility from the Smith family. We'll cover who the group of investors were, what national and international stars came here to play, and the unique features of this facility. In the early 1950s, a group of individuals began developing a plan to buy the indoor court from the Smith family. The 5 primary leaders of the group were Hugh Strange, son of John Strange, owner of John Strange Paper. Hugh was deeply involved in the previously mentioned outdoor tennis organization and a successfully ranked tennis player. He had built up national contacts with many of the top world tennis players, including Bobby Riggs and Pancho Gonzalez. Hugh was also St. Mary's Menasha tennis coach in the 1940s. Don Tad Shepard, nephew of the Smith brothers and 4th generation Smith family to be president and CEO of the family business. Tad was a board member of the First National Bank of Menasha and Bergstrom Mahler Museum. Bob DiRenzo, an attorney and certified public accountant, co-founder of DiRenzo Beaumire Law Office. He was an employee for over 60 years. Also founder of Future Neenah. The other 2 leaders were Fred Leach and Al Grove. In late 1954, a verbal deal was struck to turn over the ownership of the property. Minutes from that November 26, 1954 steering committee meeting shows the original organizational design and discussion of operating rules for this new organization. First on the list was to debate the organization's name: the Racket Club, the Valley Racquet Club, or Twin Cities Racquet Club, were the three top proposals. They voted on and chose the Racket Club. Next was to discuss the number of families for membership and decided on 20 max. The other topics discussed and voted on were how to set up a non-stock, non-profit athletic association, and then they focused on prioritizing maintenance projects. How to set up, maintenance projects, as the court needed painting and sealing, possible electric rewiring, and addressing parking lot issues. Articles of incorporation were officially filed January 1955, and the final sale was signed February 28th, as the Smith family sold the property to the Racket Club, Inc. 20 local investors spent $300 apiece to buy the facility for $6,000. One check for $4,000 went to Sylvia Smith, and a second, $2,000, went to Carlton Smith. The board was focused and went right to work. During the first official board of directors meeting, April 7th, 1955, a tennis tournament was developed. And Hugh Strange raised a motion for an approval of Frankie Parker to come play an exhibition and provide lessons for members. This was approved and scheduled for early June and again December 7th. This was big. Frankie Parker was born in Milwaukee. He will hold 4 Grand Slam singles titles, twice winning the French Open and twice the US Open, and 3 doubles titles. He was a member of the US Davis Cup team and number 1 in the world in 1948. Oh yes, and remember, the third time Bobby Riggs won our tournament in 1940 at the Doty Tennis Club, he beat Frankie Parker in the finals. But Frankie did win the men's doubles that year. In 1956, more pro tennis players came to the Racket Club to put on exhibitions and provide lessons. This time it was husband-wife team of Charles Hare and Mary Hardwick. Mary, a tennis player in the 30s and 40s, was part of the British Whiteman Cup. Her highest rank was in 1939 was number 8 in the world, and she was quarterfinalist of the French Open and Wimbledon Open. In 1940, she was semifinalist in the US Open. Charles, a world-class doubles player, highest ranked 10th in 1937. As noted in the article on the right, a social gathering after the exhibition was held at the Whiting Boathouse. In the photo with the tennis stars are the current board of directors, R.D. Young, Don Ryan, Dave Ryan, George Bonner III, and Fred Leach. In 1959, the Racket Club will sponsor an impressive national 4-player exhibition. This national tour included the likes of Pancho Gonzalez, who was number 1 in the world at the time. These matches, sponsored by the Racket Club, were played on Lawrence University Alexander Gym and was a great fundraiser for the club. Frankie Parker was secured as umpire for the event. They also were able to play an exhibition match in the Racket Club for the professionals. The 4 men involved were Pancho Gonzalez, currently number 1 in the world, Mal Anderson, number 2 in the world, Lou Hode, number 1 in the world the year before, and Ashley Cooper, number 1 doubles player. These were the top tennis players in the world coming to our area, sponsored by this little club on Doty Island. The picture on the right is Hugh Strange between Pancho Gonzalez and Frankie Parker. To underscore how impressive this event was, here is what was printed in the Twin City News Record about the competition.
World's professional tennis champion Pancho Gonzalez is acting more and more like a fellow who has just gotten back in the driver's seat. After a shaky start, he has forged into the lead in the professional tour with a 24-10 record and earnings of $16,450. Lou Hode, the challenging Aussie, still is ahead 10-5 in their personal duel, but is second overall with a 24-12 record and earnings of $16,250. Ashley Cooper has won 10,700 on the tour with an 11:24 record, and Mal Anderson has accumulated 10,600 with a 10:15 performance. It's definitely a play-for-pay tour. Jack Kramer, the promoter, has guaranteed the players $90,000 for the 60 matches they will play, $1,500 per session. This $1,500 is divided $400 to the winner of the first match and $200 to the loser, $600 to the winner of the feature match and $300 to the loser. The tour is being played on a round-robin basis, with the 2 losers and the 2 winners from the previous city playing in the succeeding one. The top money winner will be the pro champion at the end of the tour, and Gonzalez is setting his sights on a 5th straight title. The touring pros are working their way westward now and will be at the Lawrence College Alexander Gym at 8 p.m. Friday, May 1st, under sponsorship of the Neenah Racket Club. Tickets are available at Morton Drugs in Neenah and Hitty Drugs in Menasha.
The Racket Club Incorporated holds annual board meetings, open to all members. Early on, these meetings would be all-out social events. Sometimes they'd be informal costume parties, other times formal attire events. The members were a very social group. They would host summer get-togethers and annual board meetings with formal invitations. Most of these events took place at the Whiting Boathouse. Also, parties were scheduled at the Whiting Boathouse after each of Frankie Parker and Hardwick exhibitions. Today, annual board meetings have become standard end-of-the-year reviews. But oh, what a time it was back in the 50s. The uniqueness of an indoor tennis facility in this area was a fascination in the public's eye. The original intent of an indoor tennis court rings true through the decades. Both in the 50s and 60s, articles were written about playing tennis in Wisconsin during the winter. Remember, Fox City's Racket Club was not built until 1968, so the barn was still the only indoor tennis court in town. Before I finish, I'd like to show you some of the unique features of this special facility. First off, in the lower right picture are the indirect incandescent globe lights from the 50s. You needed to be careful not to turn off the lights. Once off, it'll take 10 minutes for the lights to reset. Here we see the court as it is today. This new lighting system retains the indirect lighting. It helps provide more efficient and higher light levels on the court and uniform lighting throughout the playing surface. Notice a significant increase in total court visibility. Anyone who has seen or played in the barn knows there is a distinctive quality to it. The sights, the sounds, and the tennis aroma. Here are a few of the special features that make tennis playing memorable in the barn. Number 1, upon entering the barn, you must sign in and register any guests. Number 2, you'll be able to watch matches or practices on several vintage 1940 and 1950 benches. And number 3, the sidewall windows offer an ability for an open air feeling. These windows have not been open since the 50s, but imagine playing tennis in the summer with a nice cool breeze drifting through the building. Notice the backcourt, number 4, notice the backcourt barrier on the wall. It helps to reduce the sound of the ball hitting the back wall. Since the barn is in a residential area, the neighbors complained about constant banging of tennis balls. A side benefit to the tennis player, though, is it protects them from having the balls roll back into the court. The ball will hit the barrier and remain a few feet from the wall instead of bouncing back into the field of play. And number 5, there's a large backboard for practicing. Notice the angle on the surface. It provides a better bounce back that mirrors a natural return shot. And number 6, members also have access to a lot of equipment, such as ball machines, ball retrievers, and an endless supply of practice balls. Now that you have an idea of what your eyes will see in the barn, The facility also has special appeal for other senses, the ears and the nose. The echo of the ball hitting the racket, the backboard, or the surface makes a unique sound. An echo will be heard throughout the facility. Also, being an enclosed old wood structure, a special aroma adds to the appeal. The best way to describe or explain this experience in playing in the barn are comments from members. John Woodlinger said it best in an interview about a decade ago. John played for Neenah High School, went undefeated all 4 years, and won the state title 1969 through 1972. Here is an excerpt from an Appleton Post-Crescent article written about John and some of his comments about playing in the barn.
John loved playing tennis in the barn where his dad coached him. He says he would sneak in as much practice time on his own as he could. It had a backboard that was fantastic. I'd hit a lot on the backboard and serve a lot of balls, he said. I would never have gotten to the level of tennis that I got to without that place. He remembers that the barn had a unique smell and there was a tremendous echo when you hit a ball. Quote, and it felt like you were hitting the ball 150 miles an hour.
I would like to end this presentation on a personal note. This is my 1984 official request to become a regular member, as I would be moving up from the ranks of an associate member. It was sent to the Racket Club's president, Bill Shepard. Bill's grandmother was Sylvia, and great uncles were Maury and Carlton Smith. He kept up the family tradition of involvement in the barn. From the initial thoughts of building an indoor tennis court, the Smith family have been involved in keeping the tennis community moving forward. We are coming up on 100 years of this special facility. I personally was able to utilize it, and I hope it continues operating, so my grandchildren get a chance to play in the barn. Bill, I want to personally thank you and the Smith family for the first indoor tennis court in the state of Wisconsin and the family's effort to share it with the tennis community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the program. We hope that you'll join us again next month when we present a program by Dr. Imran Andrabi. And we just ask that if you have any questions or comments regarding this program, that you send them to Neenah Historical Society at Gmail. That's our email address, or you could contact us on Facebook as well. So we hope you enjoyed the program tonight, and thanks again for joining us.